OLO, or OLO Stock, OLO, recently IPO'd. They have a best-in-class financial profile. In 2020, their revenue nearly doubled. Now, yes, they did have a COVID bump, but that's not all to their incredible growth story, as in 2019, they grew nearly 60%. This comes from year after year of incredible growth. It just accelerated in 2020. Now, while growth is fantastic, as you know, growth isn't everything. You need to have a sustainable business model. That means profits, really high gross margins, and that's where OLO really stands out, as their gross margin profile has continued to improve. In 2020, their gross margins was over 80%. Holy smokes. I mean, this is software, best of breed software type margins that you're seeing with OLO, and it's increasingly profitable on the bottom line as well. At least that's what you started seeing in 2020. So like, okay, holy smokes. How does a company in the restaurant industry have these best in class metrics, period? Not only just for restaurants, but best in class for all types of companies. So what does OLO do? They're effectively a software as a service business model for franchised restaurants. So what does that mean? So there's actually several different angles where OLO's enabling these franchised restaurants. So for example, they're enabling orders, because with a franchise or with any restaurant, it's all about let's get as much market share as we can. And what's that mean? That means enabling different types of orders. So maybe you start off as a web order, then you got to be able to offer mobile orders, then voice, or someone's calling it in, or a kiosk, or a drive-through. There's so many different types of orders, and then, oh, okay, not only do you have these different types of orders, how are you going to process all these? You know, do you do it one at a time? Who gets priority? Dispatching the drivers if it's not a pickup order. Okay, which driving agency do you use, or which courier do you effectively coordinate it with? And working with third-party order aggregators like DoorDash, which also is one of the big behemoths in the food delivery industry. Well, I think OLO might just be my favorite restaurant business model. The valuation is a bit rich as of now. I mean, it did recently IPO, and I think I can find better risk reward, as Unrivaled Investing Journey subscribers know about with my potential multi-baggers. I also have a challenge for the viewers that make it to the end of this video. So get to the end of this video and I have a challenge for you, and hopefully you'll comment in the video below. So this video does go to John and Marcus, as well as all my Unrivaled Investing Journey subscribers. About that, let's do a quick plug where my name is Daniel. You're watching Unrivaled Investing. This is a no-hype, mission-focused channel to try to find you exceptional companies and unrivaled investments. If you enjoy learning about potential multi-baggers, types of companies that can potentially go up hundreds or thousands % over time, make sure you subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, I do appreciate that thumbs up. And if you want to follow my personal journey as I'm trying to find potential multi-baggers, go to unrivaledinvesting.com, click on Journey. So let's dive into OLO to understand what's going on. Here it is calling out Shake Shack as one of their customers. They think of OLO as the interface between restaurants and the on-demand world. We connect the dots for happy customers outside the four walls. So it's all about an interface between customers outside of the restaurant and the restaurant itself. How do we make sure everyone's happy and they're getting the experience they want? So what are the different types of solutions that OLO is offering? So first is it's enabling ordering. So this is enabling all these different types of orders that you can get, whether it's mobile, web, social, like going on something like Facebook and ordering, in car, calling it in, personal assistant. Soon enough, you're going to be like, okay, Google, and then it'll start, you'll be able to order through a digital assistant in the future. Kiosks, staff use. And so you see all of this. Then you need to be able to connect this with the restaurant's point of sale system, make sure it's processing with the inventory, is it in stock, making sure it connects with the correct pricing based on the location. Okay, which location is this going to? And parallel processing. Okay, which order should be processed when? So this is a big deal. This is critical for restaurants as they want to enable to meet customers where they're at, not just customers that have to go to the store to order or go to a drive-through. This does enable drive-through though as well. Another aspect is delivery, where their dispatch covers over 90% of the U.S. population from small towns to big cities, effectively linking multiple delivery providers all on a single network. So that way they can help you choose which delivery service you should use for your restaurant when and where. This effectively is commoditizing the aggregators like DoorDash. That's going to create a little bit of friction because DoorDash wants to own the customer relationship versus the restaurants. We'll talk more about that later. At the end of the day, no one wants to get commoditized, and this does sort of create a challenge. So the third component is Rails, where it's actually mostly DoorDash paying for access, saying, hey, you have all these restaurants, we would like to be able to supply you with the drivers for it, and they're paying OLO for it. Now, why would DoorDash, which is already a low margin business, and keep in mind, it's the winning aggregator, at least in the US, pay OLO for the right to do business with effectively OLO's customers? And the reason why is that OLO is crushing it. They have 64,000 customer locations. So think of it, these are the franchisees, all these different franchise locations with 400 brand customers. And these are major customers. You can see, list below based on quick service, coffee, family dining, casual dining, fast casual, whether or not it's Cold Stone Creamery or Del Taco or Panda Express or PF Chang's. A lot of different options are on the OLO platform, and they effectively have exclusivity. Once you sign the franchise, all the franchisees have to use you. You're the go-to solution for them. So why would the franchise put themselves in this position? Why would they choose that sort of exclusivity? And that's always a magic word for my ears when I'm looking at potential unrivaled investments. Why? And so, first of all, to commoditize the delivery. Like, they don't, at the end of the day, the restaurant doesn't care really who does it unless they own their own delivery service, and some businesses do that. Think of some of the local like pizza chains. But the end goal is to, how do we make sure the consumer gets the best experience? We don't want to just partner with one delivery, one third-party delivery agency if it actually could hinder the customer or hurt the customer's experience. They want to say, hey, look, we're going to get food to the customer once it's picked up in 12 minutes, in 12 minutes or less, to make sure it's hot and fresh. We don't want to be tied into a given driver or driven agency that's going to be sending it. Let's figure out who's appropriate. Ultimately making sure the consumer wins, the consumer and the franchise wins. And the restaurants don't have to manage all these sorts of different tablets. And, here it is from their website, No More Tablet Hell. And this is actually a picture of a restaurant in San Francisco that has many different tablets. I've seen actually even more with some where it's just like aggregating. Oh, here's one sort of order aggregator. Here's our online. Here's mobile. Here's all these different options. And it's overwhelming for the restaurants. Here it is, you can have just one system that's operating that connects to their point of sales within the restaurant. Most important, at least by the surveys done by OLO's customers, over 70% of their customers indicate the reason why the franchises want to work with OLO. And OLO then connects with the drivers or connects with the driving agencies like a DoorDash, is because the franchises want to own the customer. When a restaurant gets an order from a DoorDash or equivalent, the user data, the consumer, at the end of the day, that information is not being shared. And so here it is, they can own that data. Who's the one that's actually making this order? That's 70% of the folks. That's their primary reason why they're choosing to use OLO, is that they want to own that data. Now, why would they want to own it? Well, it enables loyalty, for one. Like, hey, we want to make sure you keep coming back. If this is just a one-time business, this is not a successful way of running a business if you only have people showing up once and saying, you know what, I liked it, but I'm never coming back. You want to have lock-in where they keep coming back, and no perverse incentives. If you look at a food aggregator app where it's like, hey, you open it up to order from a restaurant, you might get a distraction from an advertisement that they have saying, oh, this company, this restaurant's doing a deal. Why don't you check this out for dinner instead of what you were originally planning on doing? And some of these aggregators are starting to partner with cloud kitchens to build out, oh, you know what, we need more supply of this type of restaurant. That directly competes with some of the franchises here and the customers, I'd argue, that OLO has. As an example of enabling loyalty, the case study with Five Guys, which is one of OLO's customers, talks about how by working with OLO, they have a 75% reorder rate. This gets to the recurring nature of the business. You want that repeat business to drive your profits long term, to give you certainty of what this business looks like in the future. And so, as we start thinking about OLO's business model, we've been talking about why the franchises want it, but we should understand their business model as it relates to the franchise. So why did the franchise want this software, but what's the relationship between OLO and the franchise, company? So or the franchisor. And so this OLO's business model is a thing of beauty, where you sign a 3-year contract, usually with 1-year automatic renewals. So that's like automatically, this is going to be incredible. You're going to have an incredible visibility into your revenue for the years ahead. And not surprisingly, they have 99% enterprise brand retention, i.e. these companies back year after year after year, repeat, they just keep coming back, and they're effectively locked in. They're stuck. So that increases the long-term value for OLO, because the alternatives, if you have 99% retention, that increases the prospects of this company's value. I mean, hey, there aren't going to be competitive threats that necessarily, disturb the business in the near term. Another aspect that makes the OLO's business model a thing of beauty is that when they win the franchise, as I already mentioned, they get the exclusivity with all the franchisees who operate the store. So, and keep in mind, this does probably make the sale process of landing a franchise a little slower, but it does make it easier to do this land grab, because once you win the franchisor, you get all the franchisees that go with it. The thought process is, when you get the mother hen, all the chicks fall in line. And here's some picture of some chicken wings from Wingstop. So the revenue is about 50, also considering this beautiful business model, is that you have about 50% around. The figures have changed over the last few years. Historically, it was all subscription, but now it's around 50% subscription revenue and then 50% transaction-driven revenue, which is really interesting. It's effectively, they're capturing the upside as these businesses, as their customers win, they win as well. More business to the franchise, more business to their partners, their customers, means more revenue for them. Also, if inflation takes place, I've done several videos in the past on the risks of inflation, what happens if there's higher pass-through costs. You always, the answer to almost all those videos is you want to find a company with pricing power. Here's an exact example of a company with indirect pricing power as they get the transaction revenue fees. So, if the restaurants have to raise their prices for their food items, boom, that inflation goes to them via revenue, and it's beautiful profit margins. And then plus, if a franchise is successful, they're going to be very eager to roll out more locations. So you win on inflation, you win on more sales, you win on opening more locations. Beautiful business model. And the question is, is ultimately this an onerous cost for the end stores? And what it pencils out to is about around $150 per month per location, which honestly, given that some of these locations are probably doing hundreds of thousands of dollars, this fee does seem very reasonable for, I'd argue, providing core infrastructure. And you can see, they talk about their average revenue per location in 2020 was $1,700 for the year, and how the number of restaurants or customers that are using more of their modules, so not just ordering, but maybe ordering and delivery, and then ordering, delivery, and then working with DoorDash as well. So that percentage of customers ordering from multiple different modules has been going up from 44% to 71%, reflecting an increasing value proposition to their end customers. So what's the opportunity? Is this just a big greenfield opportunity for them to be tapping into, or have they sort of tapped out in terms of their potential? And here it is. Management thinks the opportunity is up to $40 billion market that they're tapping into versus currently $100 million revenue. So, when I look for multi-baggers, 10 baggers, and this definitely checks out, because you're looking at tens of billions of dollars in potential that they could be tapping into over time. So, okay, so why could you potentially get, a 10x plus from here in the decade ahead? And the answer is international, currently primarily, domestic businesses, domestic franchises. So, hey, once they start rolling that out, and it'll be easier for them because they already have partnerships with their customers that have international operations. So it'll be easy, in my opinion, it'll be easy for them to get their foot in the door by saying, hey, you know what, it's our first time operating in this country. You're already there. We'll cut you a special deal. Can you just help us make sure we roll everything out smoothly? And they're like, yeah, for sure. This will create a win-win. So that's, international definitely seems like a gimme. They're going to be rolling out more modules over time, like more things like loyalty benefits, things that end up helping the franchises, that end up helping the restaurants, and also potentially moving downstream. You don't want just these big franchises that have hundreds of locations, but is it possible to have these tools help out the smaller and medium-sized restaurant locations? At the end of the day, I think their approach of targeting the bigger franchises makes a lot of sense, especially because the smaller businesses, the smaller restaurants, generally they have a higher turnover, they have a higher bankruptcy rate, and so by focusing on the bigger ones, that strategically made a lot of sense. But if you have the assets to move down market, that is a strong that would further enable their competitive position, I would think, over time, and that's also something management has articulated as a source of potential. So what is the biggest risk? Obviously, you need to go to the SEC to go, look at their filings to go over all their risks. But the biggest risk, in my opinion, is the relationship with DoorDash, as DoorDash is effectively 20% of the revenue. That's grown significantly, especially in COVID, where DoorDash also grew significantly. And DoorDash, as I already mentioned, is one of their effectively, there's ordering, delivery, and then Rails, which is the majority is DoorDash. And DoorDash paying for access to OLO. And the challenge here is that DoorDash is suing OLO, claiming for fraud and breach of contract, and this is a little bit of a mess. And it's a question of like, well, what is the odds that they sort of separate, or what's the odds that they go in different directions, or is there actual fraud here, and could this blow up OLO? So that relationship is dynamic, and honestly, it's a longer conversation, so I will save it for an exclusive post for my Unrivaled Investing Journey subscribers. But it is a real risk that does come top of mind with effectively 20% of their revenue from DoorDash. So what do I think about their valuation? Currently, the stock price is down quite a bit from where it IPO'd. You see it's around $28 or where it opened from the IPO. $28, around $4 billion valuation. You can see, nearly 60% growth in 2019, 94% growth in 2020. Growth range in 2021 is going to be a lot tougher because, with vaccines, people will presumably be eating in more. That said, the off-premise sort of secular trends have been driving, where more and more people have been looking to eat off premise or get it to go. So that should be a long-term driver for them. So it is sort of a question mark of what's their growth rate in 2021. I'm penciling out 25 to 45% for the year. Optimized margins, I think, you could be a little more confident that those margins are going to be higher over time because their gross margins are just so fat, 80% plus gross margins. So I'm doing 35% to 40% optimized or operating profit margin over time. That's a fairly narrow range. Maybe you could even be higher here. And then, then the question is, well, what's the growth rate over the years ahead from, 30% to 40%, revenue range, annualized revenue range over the ensuing 4 years? Then what's the end multiple I'm slapping on, saying in 5 years from now, what's the appropriate multiple for this? And I'm saying like 25 times to 35 times. And so you see that it's, and keep in mind, this is a logical framework. You can, in the description of this video, you can click on, this hypothetical valuation framework, click file, download. You can play around with the assumptions yourself. It's best if you play around with the things that are in yellow. That makes it a little bit easier for you. And, so of course, stock price go way higher or way lower than this framework, but I want to work from a logical framework when I'm looking at prospective investments. So looking at this framework, I'm seeing like 60% plus upside, maybe 35% downside. It's not crazy risk reward, not crazy compelling. But before I get to a summary on OLO, just quick plug, go to unrivaledinvesting.com. click on journey, and you can see my personal journey where I'm updating with potential multi-baggers, my monthly portfolio detail where we're building a community, sort of looking for these types of companies with thoughtful feedback and exclusive content, just like the post that we're about to do here on OLO, my subsequent thoughts on the valuation and the DoorDash risk. But the summary as I'm looking at OLO is that, as I've already articulated, it is one of the best business models out there. Their ability to grow based on the business, their customers doing well, the inflation pass through, their customers opening up new franchises, international expansion, launching new modules over time. So I definitely see this as a good growth driver in the years ahead. I'm very impressed with their business model, but at this point the price is just a bit expensive, as I'm effectively penciling out 30 times 2021 sales. So that is pretty rich for my taste. Unrivaled Investing Journey subscribers know, like for example, my March 2021 potential multi-bagger, I think did have a better risk-reward profile than what you're seeing here. I'll also talk about what price I would consider buying it in that exclusive post that I'll post. It'll be in the comments of this video. So my challenge is, what restaurant business has a better business model or better stock? Definitely want to hear your opinion in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please make a point of subscribing and hitting that thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching.